Afternoon everyone, in from DIY Home and Gardening, 15th of June, and I'm sat in front of yet more garlic, but the ones behind me are Hardneck Types. So if I turn the camera around and we can have a look how they're doing and see about lifting them. As I say, these are the hardneck ones. Lifted the softneck ones in the previous video, and before I do anything else we'll have a run through. So we got Kingsland, Carcassonne, Chesnok Wight, Eden Rose, Porcelain and Music Porcelain. So not quite so many varieties, but a good range nonetheless. Now these I had hoped would last until I got to July, but alas, they are going over pretty rapidly and the rust has really taken hold. You can also see that they've produced these scapes or recomble, depending on, well, variety or how you wish to phrase it. This is a lovely edible secondary part, if you like. So before you lift all your garlic, it's always a good idea to snap off these scapes, and generally speaking they will tell you the point at which they're soft enough and tender enough to break as they just drop into there. And if you try and source them in the shops or online, they're actually quite expensive. But I've already had most of the scapes from the other hardnecks, sort of that lot down there, and these seem to have been a little bit later. So these are the Kingsland ones. Probably should wear a pair of gloves before doing this because already my hands stink of garlic. Now before we get to the ripening stage, you generally get the scapes or recomble forming. By the time the rust sets in, it's normally into the July period, but I had a hell of a lot of rust from the soft necks, and I think that's just kind of spread through the batch. How else can we tell when they're getting ready? Well, you start getting browning of the leaves, certainly browning to the lower ones, and with garlic it tends to be when it's about halfway up, as in brown leaves, then it's about ready to harvest. Equally, once the stems start keeling over, snapping or bending I should say at the neck, that is the telltale signal that the bulbs are ready for lifting. So what I'll do first, I'll just whip off the last of these scapes and then set up the camera for doing a bit of filming. Now before I take off this last one, I should probably point out that it is really only the hardneck types of garlic that produce the scapes or recomble. The softneck varieties do produce them, but only if they're under stress, whereas a hardneck will always produce them. And the reason being is that this constitutes the hard stem that runs all the way through the plant and joins the bulb, hence the term hardneck. And what you find, I'll show you once we lift some, but what you find is that you'll end up with the stalk coming up through the centre and then the cloves forming around it. So you end up with distinct cloves, whereas a softneck bulb doesn't have this stem to it, and so the actual base of the bulb is complete, so you have a singular piece of bulb or corm that is the middle piece. And I hope that makes sense to you. It makes sense in my head when I'm trying to explain it, but once lift a couple we can hopefully see the difference. Right, gloves on. Now, I've actually been at work today, it has been hot, so hence the reason I'm wearing a vest top, which I don't normally do. So mushroom tray at the ready, and what I always do, I put a label at the first row and the second, or the end row, and using the border fork, because it has a narrow head to it, which is really handy in this sort of bed. Shorter tines, which much easier, especially if you're doing no dig type plot. You won't end up going through cardboard and whatnot. And anyway, let's try and get down and tease this up. So this one is Kingsland, which last year I was a bit disappointed with sizing, and I was considering what to do with it, whether to carry on. So I've given it the benefit of the doubt one more year, and not too bad the size. So I just pop those in there. And what I've tried to do slightly differently the last couple of years is weed out the bog standard garlics and trying to get varieties that are a little bit nicer for cooking purposes and for storing. Now, as I say, these are Hardneck types. Now, Hardneck, I always think, have a more pungent smell, more pungent taste to them, you know, more garlicky, if you will, over a Softneck, so they're much stronger tasting. They tend to produce fewer cloves, which you can see, and it has this main stem, as I was trying to explain to you, the Hardneck stem to it. So you end up with fewer cloves anyway, but they tend to be of larger sizing. Let's strip this down a bit. It cleans up pretty well. You find that as they dry out, then the skin becomes more papery, and obviously you get your segmentation. But these hardnecks don't keep as long as the softneck types do, so you always need to sort of use them first, really. But they are definitely stronger in smell as well, so you don't need to use quite so much in your cooking. But I'm going to crack on, finish these Kingsland ones and show you what we got. So this is all the Kingsland harvested. You notice that they're fairly free now from the soil, and that's all I tend to do. I just lightly brush off using my hand the soil from the bulb and from the root, checking for signs of pests, so slugs, snails, worms, you name it. We don't want it on there, leather jackets, and leave as is for the next week or so for it to dry a little bit, and then once they've dried I'll be able to strip off these outer skins, clean them up a little bit, and they'll be good to store. It's worth pointing out that with these rusty leaves, the rust will leave staining, especially on your hands, so put some gloves on. Anyway, I'm going to crack on with the rest of these now. And there you have it, all the hardnecks lifted, and amazingly, Music Porcelain, which was possibly my worst performer last year, I reckon that's been the best performer this year in terms of the hardnecks. I mean, there's not many that are small. That one we definitely caught just in time because it's gone a little bit soft inside. Now, what I wanted to show you was the difference between the hardnecks. So we've got a Eden Rose variety there, which you can see I've stripped it down, and you got the stem that leads all the way to the flowering scape at the top. So you can see that there is a hollow centre essentially with this stalk coming out, and then you've got the cloves forming around it. And here we have Maddock Wight, which is a Softneck variety, so you can see the bulbs all around the side. That is soft to the centre, and I'll just try and cut that off to show you. So just cut that down and essentially peel it back. There we are. And you can just see that there's tight cloves all the way through the centre, so we don't, there we are, so you got that one, they're all adjoining each other, so you don't end up with the same hollow centre as you do as a hardneck. And that really is the best that I can show you, the differences between hardneck and the softneck ones. And not the best examples, because this one's quite a small hardneck bulb, but you do get fewer cloves to a hardneck than you do a softneck, and they tend to be larger in size, as I say, bad example, but definitely fewer, and it is obvious there are fewer dissections to that. Okay, so that's the differences between the hardnecks and the softnecks done. Harvest on the hardnecks done. I feel pretty done, to be honest, as it's still about 22 degrees. Need to get back. As always though, if you've got any questions, then please send the questions to me. I'll do my best to answer them for you. If you've liked the video, then please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that reminder button so you don't miss out on the future videos. And above all else, just enjoy yourself, have fun, and perhaps try the odd hardneck variety or two. As I say, porcelain, music porcelain, they're things you cannot buy in the shop. So perhaps dig out a different variety to a shop bought type. So till next time, bye for now.